Know that in Shulchan Aruch, in the beginning of Siman Tov Kuf Pei Aleph, the Mechaber says, "Noi hagim lokum ba'ashmoires, loy masliches v'tachnunim, mi roish chodesh Elul ve'elech ad Yom HaKippurim." The Ramah says, "V'nohagu b'nei Ashkenaz," that we only blow shofar from Rosh Chodesh. Slichis we begin later. So, what's the basis of this minig? What's so special about Chodesh Elul? So the Goyen in the Bir Agro says, Shehein Yemei Rotzoin, that the days of Elul are Yemei Rotzoin, days of Rotzon. What does that mean? Yemei Moshe Bahor Lekabel Luchis Achronis. These are the days that Moshe spent on the mountain. Lekabel Luchis Achronis. Rosh Soif Rosh Hashanah U'Mordcha Reish Rosh Hashanah. The truth of the matter is that if you look in the Rosh and in the Mordcha, they bring the minig of saying Slichis and Chodesh Elul, but they don't refer to Chodesh Elul as Yemei Rotzoin, and that's the reason for the Amiris HaSlichis. Whereas this is something that the Goyen is saying on his own, Shehen Yemei Rotzon, based on Rashi in Parshas Eikev, that says that Kayomim Harishoinim, Ma Harishoinim Berotzon, Af Elo Berotzon, whereas the middle 40 days were Bekas. But you know, during those middle 40 days that Rashi says were Bekas, the Rebbeinu Shalom was upset at Klal Yisrael, that those are the days of Ve'esnapal. Those are the days when Moshe Rabbeinu davened and asked for Mechila. And at the end of those 40 days, HaKadosh Baruch Hu consented and agreed to give us the Luchos Shniyos. So really the last 40 days, which we describe as Yemei Ratzon, were not days of Tefillah. Those were the days that Moshe Rabbeinu spent on the mountain for the receiving of the second Luchos. So what does it mean exactly that these are Yemei Ratzon and therefore we say Slichis? It would seem that it means literally that HaKadosh Baruch Hu already had the Ratzon to give us the Torah, to give us the Luchos Shniyos. And that's what makes these days special. In other words, even though the Salachti Kidvarecha, the final atonement for the Chet Egel, was only on Yom Kippur, but these are the days of Ratzon that lead up to the final Slicha. So Ratzon really is the Rebbeinu Shalom's Ratzon to give us the Torah. How do we reciprocate? What does it mean for us? What do we do during these Yemei Ratzon? I think it means that we have to develop our Ratzon for Kabbalah Torah. Just like these are the days of Ratzon that the Rebbeinu Shalom wants to give us the Torah, we have to develop our wanting for Torah. In other words, even if we're not there yet, just like the Salachti Kidvarecha only took place on Yom Kippur, but we were anticipating the receiving of the second Luchos. So these are days really that are about our Ratzon. You know, sometimes a person could be in the Beis Medrash, but he really wants to be elsewhere. Sometimes a person can be elsewhere and he really wants to be in the Beis Medrash. So sometimes we're more defined by what we want than by what we do. Yeah, there's a line that is quoted in the name of the Baal Shem Tov that says, "B'mokom shemachshavtoi shel Adam sham hu nimtza," that where a person's mind is, that's where he is. Actually, it's in the Ralbag, in the first parak in Yeshua, where it says, "Vayehi b'hiyois Yeshua b'Yerichoi," but Yeshua was not yet in Yerichoi. So the Ralbag says, "Vayehi b'hiyois Yeshua b'Yerichoi machshavtoi mishoitetes sham." His mind was in Yerichoi, and therefore it says, "Vayehi b'hiyois Yeshua b'Yerichoi." So sometimes where we are is really where we want to be. There's a fascinating Chassam Sofer in Parshas Shoftim, in the 5-volume Chassam Sofer al Torah, on the pasuk v'chiyavoy halevi me'achad she'orecha mikol Yisrael asher hu gor shom uva v'chol avas nafshoy el hamokim asher yivchar Hashem v'sheirez b'shem Hashem eloikov k'chol echav ha'koyanim Now this pasuk, Chazal say, teaches us that during Yomim Tovim, any Kohen has the right to come and do the avodah, even if he's not from the Anshe Mishmor. But the pasuk is saying V'chiyovei Alevi, which is really referring to a Kohen. V'chiyovei Alevi me'achad she'orecha mikol Yisrael asher hu gor sham. He's sojourning there. Uvbo b'chol avas nafsho. He'll come with all the desire of his heart. El hamokim asher yivcha Hashem v'sheres b'shem Hashem alekov. Says the Chassam Sofer b'zeh haloshen. Rotz aloyma. Mishu hu gor or mishu hu ger. He's like an outsider. Umizgorer me'rachoik. He's living far away. V'i efshe lavoi ba'atzmoi. V'lavoid begufoi mamish avodas Hashem. He's incapable of actually doing the avodah. Rak ach bechol avas nafshoi v'tavosoi v'cheshkoi umishtoikeik v'chofetz lavoid Hashem. He wants to be able to do avodah. Umispalel v'korei b'shem Hashem b'chefetz v'cheshek harbe. Azai yeh machshavtoi hatoiva nirtzeis kechol haLevim ha'omdim shom b'foil lefnei Hashem v'kal ha'oven. So he says that somebody who wants to be there, b'chol avas nafshoi ubo b'chol avas nafshoi. His coming is through the avas nafshoi. He can't actually come. He can't realize his ratzon. But the ratzon itself is ubo b'chol avas nafshoi. So in any case, in the Yemei HaRatzon, I think we really have to work on our ruts and how much do we really want to do what we're doing. In this context, I want to share with you something very interesting that appears in the Sefer Leket Yosher. You know, the Leket Yosher was written by a Talmud of the Trumas Hadeshen. The Trumas Hadeshen was born in 1390 and he died in 1460. The Trumas Hadeshen was one of the Rishonim HaAchronim, which the Poskim treat him almost as a Rishon. Yeah, the Sefer Trumas Hadeshen, by the way, is called Trumas Hadeshen. It's an interesting name for a Sefer, Trumas Hadeshen. But the reason for it is because it has 354 Truvas, Kaminyan Deshen, Dalit Shin Nun. In any case, the Trumas Hadeshen had a Talmud, Rabbi Yosef Yozel, who kept a journal where he writes all kinds of things that happened to his Rebbe, that his Rebbe said. It's a very unusual thing because we don't have from those times any such type of svarim. It's called Leket Yosher. And over there he writes on page 16 as follows. He writes, V'zechurani pam achas b'slichis. I remember once during the slichis, Omar la bachurim, he said to the bachurim, Lama atem holchem beis hakneses koydem Shema Yisrael. How come you leave shul before Shema Yisrael? Afal pishim mikzosim holchem lilmoid. Even though some of them were going to learn, he still was upset at them. But why were they leaving b'chlal? So explains the Leket Yosher ki hagoyen zal hoyo menagein mirosh chodesh Elul b'choil ad achar Yom Kippurim on weekdays from Rosh Chodesh Elul until Yom Kippur. He used to sing the Baruch She'omar Kemat Sho'achas. In other words, he used to sing Baruch She'omar Kemat Sho'achas. Later on page 17, he says, Shloishas Rivei Sho. 3/4 of an hour he spent in the bracha of Baruch She'omar Benegina. And the Bachrim ran out of patience, so they left. They left before Kriya Shema. And he was upset at them. And by the way, the Talmidim of the Trumas Hadeshen we know, I mean, the Mahari Bruna and the Maramintz and the Isavahete. In any case, so they left before Kriya Shema. But my question is like this. I mean, why didn't they just come late? I mean, they knew. I mean, obviously, they knew that he was doing this every day. So instead of missing Kriya Shema or B'Chaiseh, B'Tzibur and the Shemoneh Esrei, they should have rather come late and started later. And Mamela, they would have Kriya Shema B'Chaiseh and the Shemoneh Esrei B'Tzibur. What's the pshat that they came on time, started with him, ran out of patience, and they left? I mean, how do we explain that? So I think the pshat is like this, because if you look, in the tour in Simon Tzadik Beis, in the tour state in Orach yeah, state in the tour that if somebody needs to go to the bathroom, al yispal mishum shenema, you're not allowed to daven mishum shenema. He koin lekrasa lekecha Yisrael. Uksiv, a person has to be in a state of where he can daven. V'mispalel tfilasoi toyeva. If he davens in such a massive where he's nitzich l'nekov tfilasoi toyeva v'tzorich lachzor u'lispal, he has to daven once again. V'hani mili. But this is only true she'eino yochoy lamoid al atzmoi shiur hiluch parsa, that he can't hold back for the shiur of hiluch parsa, for as long as it takes to walk a parsa. Avlam yochoy lahamid al atzmoi tfilosei tfilah. Now this shiur of hiluch parsa has no source. The pashtus is that the shiur should be the shiur of kedei ligmaris kula, that he has to be able to hold back as long as it takes to daven the Shemon Esrei. But where did the Torah come up with a shiur of hiluch parsa? Says the Bach, Umashe kosav shiur hiluch parsa, matzasi kosuv, denosnu chachamim shiur parsa, lafi, the bereish perik ein oimdim, Isa, the Gemara says in Brachis, the shoyim betfilah, shoachas, it says the Chasidim are Rishonim, hayu shoyin shoachas lefnei atfilah, shoachas achat tfilah, and shoachas they davened. Yes, so he says the Hainu Shiur Hiluch Parsa Bekiruv. A Shoachas is about the Shiur of Hiluch Parsa, which we actually say is 72 minutes. Lefi Mahalach Odom Beinoini Asor Parsois Bayoim Shu Yud Beis Shois. Rabbeinu Yoina Hoichiach the Shor Mamish Kamar Achas Mishtei Mesri Shois. Rabbeinu Yoina says that Shor Achas that it says over there by Tefillah doesn't mean a time; it means an hour. An hour of the 12 hours of the day, be the Kama Gemara, because the Gemara asks, there are 3 tefillahs, so it comes out Teisha Shois. So you see that these Shois, are hours. Okay, so this is what the Bach says, that this is the source of the Torah, Matzasi Kosuv, that the Shir Hiluch Parsa is based on this Gemara. Now, the question is, this is Chasidim or Rishonim. Even in the time of the Rishonim, it was only the Chasidim or Rishonim that davened so long, right? But we actually probably never davened so long. And we don't know anybody that davened so long. So why would this be the shear of Kedei Ligmer Es Kuloi that was set for every Jew? We give every Yid the shear of Ligmer Es Kula, the shear of the length of the tefillah of the Chasidim or Rishonim. It's l'chara a davar she'enim is kabel al adas. So it would seem that in spite of the fact that we don't manage to daven a shachas, but every Yid when he starts davening, his davening has to have the potential of being the tefillah of Chasidim Rishonim. And he has to actually hope and want that he should daven the way davening should be. Even if he doesn't succeed, even if he didn't succeed yesterday and he didn't succeed the day before, he shouldn't be giving up. And a Yid that starts davening, a davening that doesn't have the potential of being the perfect davening of the Chasidim Rishonim, is tefillah toyeva. It's not considered a tefillah b'chlal. The tefillah is only qualified as a tefillah by being a tefillah that could be the tefillah of the Chassidim Rishonim. And therefore I say that Vaistois, that the Talmidim of the Trumas Hadeshen, every day they hope that maybe today we'll be able to do it like the Rebbe does it. We'll be able to say that Baruch Shema, we'll be able to sing that Baruch Shema for 45 minutes. So they started off with him. But eventually it didn't work out. So they left. They left, but they didn't come late, because tomorrow again, even though today they didn't succeed, tomorrow again they figured maybe it's going to happen. Maybe we'll get turned on. Maybe it'll work. And therefore, every day, again and again, they came on time, and they tried, and they wanted, and even if it didn't succeed, they didn't give up. And that's the Indian of Rotzen. We know that Rosh Hashanah is the Yom Adin. The Goyen says in the Yohel Or, in the Likutim, in the back of Sefer Shemois, the Goyen says that that's why is Rosh Hashanah the Yom Adin. That's based on what Chazal tell us, that B'tchila Ola b'machshave livro yasa olam b'midas hadin. And that's why only the Shem Elokim appears throughout the parsha of the Bria. But then, Rosh she'ein ha'olam miskayim b'midas hadin, Omad v'shiteif midas harachamim with the midas hadin, and that's why it says b'yoyim asois Hashem Elokim eretz v'shamayim. Over there it says Hashem Elokim. As Rashi brings the Parsha Bereshis. Now says the Goyen that the Gemara says in Rosh Hashanah Daf Chav Zayin that Keman Matzlinen Ha'idne, according to whom do we daven in these days? Zeh Hayom Tchilas Masecha. That follows the sheet of Rebbe Lezer that be Tishrei Nivra Olam. But Tosfos says that on Pesach the Kalir was Mesakin in his piyutim, that we say that that's the Zman of Brias Olam, following the opinion of Rabbi Yeshua. So it's a stira. So Tosfos brings in the name of the Rabbeinu Tam that Elul ve'elu divrei Elokim chayim. One of them is the time of Ola b'machshava Brias Olam, and the other one is the time of the practical Brias Olam. It's not clear in Tosfos which is what, but the Goyen is assuming, and others also, that Tishrei is the time of Ola b'machshava livrei Olam, and the practical Brias Olam was in Nisan. It says the Goyen that since the Ola b'machshava was livrei Olam b'midas hadin, so therefore on Rosh Hashanah, which is the Hayoim Haras Olam, the day of the Hiroyon of the world, the day of the machshava, the conception. So the pshat is therefore Rosh Hashanah is the Yom HaDin. Now, Bemis, this Chazal that B'tchila Olam Machshava Livrei Yasoilam B'midas Hadin, Rosh Ein Olam Eskayim, Omad V'shiteif, is very hard to understand. So the Svasemes and Bereshis, stuff Reish Lamed Zayin, he says, V'chas v'sholem shetiyeh chazora ba'achroina. It can be that the Rebbeinu Shalom first thought to do it this way, and then changed his mind. So it needs to be by us also. A person's wanting, and it needs to be. There are no psharas as far as the wanting is concerned. You know, like the Welt says, there could be things that stand in the way of carrying out the rotzen, but nothing stands in the way of wanting. So therefore, when it comes to rotzon, what do I want to be? There's no compromise over there. It's only midas hadin. And even though a person sometimes can't carry it out, so in other words, our rotzen parallels the Ratzon HaElyon in the Ola b'machshava. Our Ola b'machshava needs to be ois gehalten on the level of midas hadin. Our Ola miskayim, in our Ola miskayim, there's a sheet of midas harachamim, and those are the two levels that are set in the Brias Olam. There's the level of Ola b'machshava, and there's the level of Ola miskayim, and therefore I'm saying the fact that it's not miskayim, is it doesn't excuse us from continuing to have that Ola b'machshava every day, and therefore, even though they didn't succeed in doing that Baruch Shama Benegina Shloisa Shirvei Shah, they nevertheless. They every day wanted. You know, in Shulchan Aruch Arachaim Siman Kuf Nun Hey, it says, Acha sheyetze mi beis hakneses, yelech lebeis hamidrash, v'yikva eis lilmoid. Person leaves shul, he should go to the Beis HaMedrash. In the olden days, they had a Beis HaKnesses that was dedicated only for that, to davening, and the Beis HaMidrash for learning. So, Acha sheyetze mi beis hakneses, yelech lebeis hamidrash, v'yikva eis lilmoid. Says the Ramah, Va'af mi she'eino yoidea lilmoid. Yelech lebeis hamidrash v'schar halicha biyada. Even somebody that doesn't know how to learn, he should go to the beis medrash and he'll have schar halicha. So the source of this is in Rashi and Brachas Dafov that says agro de pirka rohato, which means the schar for the pirka, which is the drasha of the chochem, is rohato, the running to the drasha. Rashi says ikir kibul schar abriyos harotzim l'shmoy adrasha mepi chochem. The ikir reward that people get for the people that run to hear the drasha from the chacham, who schar hamerutza, is the reward for the running. Shaharei rubam einam mevinim lahamid girse veloymar shmua mipi rabam laachar zman sheyikablu schar limud. And therefore their limud is not really a limud, and therefore the ikir schar is the merutza. But in this case of Rashi, I mean, the person that's running there, the drasha, Rashi's saying he understands the drasha, he just doesn't remember it, and he's not clear. But it's not that he's not learning. So we could understand that there's schar merutza. But what is the Ramah saying? That even somebody that doesn't know how to learn, he should go to the beis medrash with schar halicha biyada. How could there be schar halicha for going to nothing? I mean, he's not going to anything. So it must be that this yid that doesn't know how to learn. Yesterday he didn't know how to learn. The day before he didn't know how to learn. But he continues to go to the beis medrash. Maybe today is going to happen. Again, you see that the olam hamiskayim can't bring down our olam machshava. Our olam machshava has to remain intact, even if our olam miskayim is not on that level. Is not on that level. The emes is that Chazal tell us that b'derech she'odam roitze leilech moilech enoiseh. Sometimes we feel that moilech enoiseh in not such a good direction. We feel circumstances, are pushing us in a direction that's not so good. But really, Chazal are telling us that's avada, it's moilech enoiseh. You're being led from above. You're being led from above on the wrong path. But why? Because that's the derech shodem roitze leilech. Because that's where you really want to be. In other words, if you would really want to be somewhere else, then you would be somewhere else. Then the moilichin oisai would be somewhere else. And Mamela, in these Yemei Rotzen, Nachamol, it's about really identifying what we want and aligning our Rotzen with the Rotzen HaElyon. And then the Rebbeinu Shalom will help that we'll actually receive the Torah in the end of this process, and we'll actually connect, and we'll actually be able to carry it out. And I want to wish you all a guten Shabbos, and we should be zoiche that we should connect. We should connect with the avodah of Elul. Okay, Rabbi say a guten Shabbos.